I'm going to show you how I look after my feet when I'm out there on the hill. So for starters, obviously boots. With boots, everybody's feet is different. So get the boot that fits your shoe, that fits your foot. So for me, these are the widest boots that I could find through the toe box because I suffer from Morton's neuroma. Google it, it's not nice. But so I need a wide toe box, which is these ones here. Everybody's foot is different, and that's why in the army they have many different types of boots that you can choose. Some are wide, some are long, some are short, all different types. So when someone says, oh, what's a good pair of boot, it's whatever suits your foot. So go try them on. Go spend that money at Front Runner or something, and they can do molds on your feet to see what sort you are, and whether you're on the outside, inside, and all that sort of stuff. These pair of boots here, I probably go through about 2 or 3 inner soles per pair of boots. I get the inner soles that match my foot. So these, you can see these ones here, I've got a high arch in them, and they're nice and good. So boots, like I said, I wear these when I'm bush stalking and when I'm up chasing tail. I wear the same pair of boots. It doesn't bother me, so yeah, that's what I wear. And I keep just buying the same pair of boots over and over and over. And I actually have a stockpile of old ones. Right, gaiters. Now it depends on what country I'm hunting, but all my gaiters have the same thing in common, is that they have a very low profile on my boot. I want gaiters that come down and protect my boot. These gaiters are only about 40 bucks, and so the boots are a lot more expensive than that. So I'd rather wear out the gaiters than wear out my boots. So I want good gaiters that come down as low as they possibly can to that rubber rand, and that way it protects all the seams and whatnot. Also, it's harder for water to get up and under. So you can find a lot of gaiters these days only come halfway down the laces, like so, and all that does is get grit and wear and tear on your laces. So all my gaiters come down nice and low on the boot. Okay, so short gaiters I use when I know I'm going to be walking on tracks long distances and whatnot, or up there in the tussock country, and I'm walking big miles. I like wearing these because I don't like having, on these long ones, a band around the top of my calf muscle, and I find just a slight restriction on it, even though you may not think it's a lot. By the time you've walked 7 or 8 kilometers, you add that up over a distance and it does. So I often take 2 pairs of gaiters, a short pair and a long pair. The long pair I'll use if I'm bush bashing through some alpine scrub. You know, that stuff can get pretty gnarly on the old front of the shins and whatnot. And then I'll use a really thick pair like these pair here, if I know there's going to be spear grass around and that sort of stuff. But predominantly I'll wear short gaiters, but if I know there's going to be a bit of bush bashing, I'll take a pair of these. And these are also handy around camp to sit on and whatnot and put under your sleeping mat for extra insulation. So that's gaiters. Right, then I go to a good pair of merino socks. There's heaps of good brands out there. What I'm looking for is that there's not too much material out the top of the boot. So if I put my foot in there, I don't want heaps of material coming out the top of my boot. It's just wasted material, and if that get wet, it just sags and starts pulling down and all the rest of it. So I like it if the material only just comes out the top of my boot. That's what I'm looking for. A lot of the hiking socks these days, they're designed, for me personally, I think they're designed for wearing gumboots. They have quite a bit of material out the top. I don't like that personally, but I do like a very tight fitting sock and merino, so that way they're quick dry. And then underneath them I wear toe socks, which are these little bad boys. These are merino. These are a sock liner. I find these absolutely brilliant. So these stop blisters. So what happens is, instead of your sock rubbing on your skin, on your heel, it rubs on the outside of that sock, and so that stops the blisters. Also, and on the toes and on the balls of your feet as well. I find these very, very good. Now, when I'm wearing these sorts of socks, I don't take them off. The only time I take these socks off is if I am crossing a creek and I think I'm going to get water in the top of my boot. I'll take these off. But when I go to bed, whatnot, I leave these on and it dries them out. Okay, being merino, they're great. If I do ever get a hot spot, I have a thing called hiker's wool, and you peel a little bit off and you knead it into a little circle and you stick it inside, hard up against your skin, but inside the sock here. And the wool fibres stick to the inside of the sock so it doesn't move or slip around. And that, instead of the sock rubbing on the skin, it's rubbing on the fibres of the merino wool, and that stops any further blisters. If a blister does form, so I'll put this on if there's a hot spot, if a blister does form, I'll use second skin. Second skin is absolutely fantastic once that blister's already formed. You stick that on and you do not take it off until it's healed underneath, which could take a week. And so you can get home, have a go off these on. They're absolutely brilliant. Now they are pretty expensive for what they are, but you'd pay 10 times that when you need them. Okay, so you're better off having them in your kit and having them there for when you do need them. That's about all I've got, folks. Hope you got something out of that. Oh, one other thing I always do. Before I go for a hunt, cut your toenails, okay? Cut your toenails. Not only does it bring you good luck, but it takes that pressure off the end of your toes when you're pushing, going downhill in your boots, okay?